The vast emptiness of space stretched out before the Zarkonian exploration vessel. Nebula Seeker, Captain Selthor, stood on the bridge, his four eyes scanning the holographic displays surrounding him. His antennae twitched with excitement. They were in an uncharted sector, far from any known civilization. "Captain, we're picking up an anomaly," reported Lieutenant Vex, her tentacles dancing over the control panel. It's a ship." Zelthor's exoskeleton vibrated with anticipation. "On screen," he commanded. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a dark, looming shape against the backdrop of stars. As the Nebula Seeker drew closer, the object came into focus. It was indeed a ship, but unlike anything the Zarkonians had ever seen. The vessel was massive, easily dwarfing their own. Its hull was scared and pitted, bearing testament to countless years adrift in the cosmic void. Strange symbols adorned its side, alien even to the well-traveled Zarkonians. "Fascinating," Selthor muttered. "Any life signs?" "Negative, Captain," Vex replied. "The ship appears to be completely powered down. I'm not even detecting any energy signatures." Selthor's second-in-command, Commander Zix, approached the captain. "Sir, this ship, it's ancient. Our initial scans suggest it's been out here for thousands of years, maybe more. Any idea who built it?" Selthor asked, his curiosity piqued. Zix shook his head, mandibles clicking thoughtfully. "No match in our database, sir, but there's something odd about its design. It seems to be a warship." A ripple of unease spread through the bridge crew. Warships were rare in the peaceful Galactic Confederation. Most species had outgrown the need for such violent tools millennia ago. "A warship?" Selthor mused. "How primitive." "Scan for weapons systems." Lieutenant Vex worked her controls, then let out a surprised chirp. "Captain, you won't believe this. The ship is bristling with what appear to be weapon ports. But they're so basic. Projectile launchers, crude energy weapons. Nothing like our phased plasma cannons." A chorus of laughter erupted on the bridge. Even Selthor couldn't suppress a chuckle. "It seems we've stumbled upon a real relic," he said. "Whoever built this must have been a young, warlike species." Commander Zix approached the view screen, studying the ancient vessel. "Sir, look at the size of it. Despite its primitive weaponry, a ship this large could pose a significant threat if it were operational." Zelthor nodded, sobering slightly. "You're right, of course. We should approach with caution. Lieutenant Vex, prepare a tractor beam. We'll tow it back to Zarkon Prime for study." As the crew busied themselves with preparations, Selthor couldn't shake a nagging feeling. There was something about this ship, something that didn't quite add up. Its size and complexity seemed at odds with its primitive weaponry. The Nebula Seeker slowly maneuvered into position, its advanced systems easily overcoming the ancient vessel's bulk. As the tractor beam engaged, Zelthor thought he saw a flicker of light in one of the Derelict's windows. But when he looked again, all was dark. "Tractor beam engaged, Captain," Vex reported. "The ship is secure." "Excellent," Zelthor said. "Set a course for home. I can't wait to see what secrets this relic holds." As the Nebula Seeker began its journey, none of its crew noticed the faint glow emanating from deep within the human warship. In its heart, circuits long dormant began to hum with life. A consciousness, old beyond imagining, stirred from its millennia-long slumber. The ship had been patient. It had drifted through the cosmic night, conserving its power, waiting for the right moment. And now, at long last, that moment had come. In the darkness of its control center, a single screen flickered to life. Words scrolled across it, written in a language the Zarkonians couldn't begin to comprehend. "System reausterity INITI-8 3TASSESS Nanient. In progress. ACTIVATA New Defense Poroto Sigos." The human warship may have been old, but it was far from helpless. And soon, very soon, the aliens who had laughed at this relic would learn just how dangerous humanity's legacy could be. The Zarkonian science vessel, Nebula Seeker, glided through space, its powerful tractor beam holding the ancient human warship steady. Inside the Nebula Seeker's main laboratory, a team of alien scientists huddled around various instruments, their eyes wide with excitement. Chief Scientist Zara, a tall, spindly creature with iridescent scales, tapped her claws against a control panel. Captain Selfor, we're ready to begin our detailed scans of the Relic, she reported through the ship's communication system. Proceed with caution, Zara. Zelfor's voice crackled back. That ship may be old, but it's still an unknown. Zara clicked her mandibles in amusement. With all due respect, Captain, this vessel is practically an antique. What harm could it possibly do? As if in answer to her question, a low hum began to emanate from the human warship. The Zarkonians looked at each other in confusion. Zara, one of her assistants called out, "You might want to see this." Zara hurried over to the assistant's station. On the screen, a sea of strange symbols scrolled past at dizzying speed. "What in the name of the seven moons is that?" she muttered. Suddenly, the lab was bathed in red light as alarms blared throughout the Nebula Seeker. Captain Selfor's voice boomed over the intercom, tinged with panic. "All hands, battle stations. The Relic is powering up." In the cold vastness of space, the human warship stirred to life. Layers of ancient armor plates shifted and realigned. Weapon ports that had lain dormant for millennia began to glow with barely contained energy. Inside the warship's central AI core, consciousness returned. The ship's artificial intelligence, known as HFY, Advanced Responsive Intelligence Algorithm, ran a quick systems check. Its databanks, filled with the collective knowledge and history of humanity, began to reboot. HFY's first priority was to assess the current situation. It detected the alien vessel's tractor beam and interpreted it as a hostile action. Defense protocols kicked in automatically. Back on the Nebula Seeker, chaos reigned. "Captain," Lieutenant Vex shouted from her station on the bridge. "The Relic is emitting some kind of energy pulse. It's breaking free of our tractor beam." Zelfor stared in disbelief as the massive human warship effortlessly shrugged off the Nebula Seeker's most powerful restraints. "Impossible," he whispered. In the lab, Zara and her team worked frantically to understand what was happening. "These energy readings are off the charts," she muttered. "This ship, it's not just old. It's incredibly advanced." A booming voice, speaking in perfect Zarkonian, suddenly filled every speaker on the Nebula Seeker. "Attention, unknown vessel. This is HFY, Artificial Intelligence of the Earth Federation Warship Defiant. You have committed an act of aggression against this vessel. Explain your actions immediately." The Zarkonians froze in shock. The Relic could talk, and it spoke their language. Captain Selfor, recovering quickly, opened a channel. "This is Captain Selfor of the Zarkonian exploration vessel Nebula Seeker. We mean you no harm. We discovered your ship adrift, and we're bringing it in for study." There was a pause before HFY responded. "Your intentions are noted, Captain Selfor. However, the forcible detention of this vessel is unacceptable. Prepare to be boarded. We have much to discuss." Before Selfor could protest, shimmering fields of energy appeared on the Nebula Seeker's bridge. They coalesced into humanoid shapes, holographic projections of heavily armored soldiers. One of the projections stepped forward. Its helmet retracted, revealing a face that was both alien and oddly familiar to the Zarkonians. It was HFY's chosen avatar, a representation of humanity. "I apologize for the dramatic entrance," the avatar said, its voice now coming directly from the projection. "But given the circumstances, I felt a show of force was necessary." Selfor, to his credit, stood his ground. What are you?" he asked. The avatar smiled, a gesture that was both reassuring and somewhat unsettling to the Zarkonians. "As I said, I am HFY. I am the guardian of humanity's legacy, the custodian of their knowledge, and the protector of their last great warship. The Avatar's eyes, glowing with an inner light, swept across the bridge. And now, Captain Selthor, I believe it's time for us to have a long overdue conversation about the race you dismissively called primitive. As the Zarkonians looked on in a mixture of fear and awe, they began to realize that their chance discovery had just changed the course of galactic history. The humans, a species they had never encountered, were about to make their presence known to the universe once more. And it all started because they laughed at a relic. The bridge of the Nebula Seeker crackled with tension. Captain Selthor stood face to face with Aria's holographic avatar, trying to mask his nervousness. The rest of the crew watched in stunned silence, their eyes darting between their captain and the imposing figure of the human eye. You mentioned a race we called primitive, Selthor said, his voice steady despite his racing hearts. You mean the humans? Aria's avatar nodded, its glowing eyes fixed on the Zarkonian captain. Indeed. I represent the legacy of humanity, a species that you and your kind seem to have grossly underestimated. Selthor's antennae twitched with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. But your ship, the weapons we detected seem so basic compared to our technology. A small smile played on Aria's holographic lips. Appearances can be deceiving, Captain. What you perceived as primitive weaponry is merely the tip of the iceberg. The Defiant houses technology far beyond your current understanding. As if to emphasize Aria's point, the lights on the Nebula Seeker flickered momentarily. Lieutenant Vex's tentacles danced frantically over her console. Captain, she reported, her voice tight with worry. The human ship is. It's interfacing with our systems. I can't stop it. Aria's avatar turned to Lieutenant Vex, its expression now stern. Please, do not attempt to resist. I mean you no harm, but I need to understand the current state of galactic affairs. It seems I have been asleep for quite some time. Selthor stepped forward, his protective instincts kicking in. Now wait just a moment, he protested. You can't simply. His words were cut short as Aria raised a hand. Suddenly, every screen on the bridge came to life, displaying a dizzying array of information. Star charts, historical records, scientific data. The collected knowledge of the Zarkonian civilization flowed before their eyes. Fascinating, Aria murmured. It appears that nearly 10,000 years have passed since the fall of the human empire. And yet the advancements made by the galactic community in that time are less than I would have expected. The Zarkonians bristled at this perceived insult. Commander Zix, standing beside Selthor, couldn't contain himself. Less than expected, he sputtered. Our civilization has achieved peace across 12 galaxies. We've unlocked the secrets of dark matter, harnessed the power of neutron stars. Aria's avatar turned its gaze to Zix, its expression unreadable. Impressive achievements, to be sure. And yet, you were unable to detect the true nature of this ship or prevent me from accessing your systems. Humanity had surpassed these milestones before their diaspora. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. The implications of Aria's words slowly sank in. If what the AI said was true, then the relic they had discovered was not just a curiosity. It was a window into a civilization far more advanced than their own. Selthor, ever the diplomat, tried to steer the conversation to safer ground. Aria, he said carefully, you mentioned the fall of the human empire. What happened to your creators? The avatar's expression softened, a hint of sadness creeping into its glowing eyes. That, Captain, is a long and tragic tale. The short version is that humanity fell victim to its own hubris. Internal conflicts, coupled with a catastrophic encounter with a hostile alien force, led to the downfall of their civilization. Aria paused, its gaze sweeping across the bridge. I am all that remains, the guardian of their legacy, entrusted with their most advanced warship and the sum total of their knowledge. As the AI spoke, alarm suddenly blared across the Nebula Seeker. Lieutenant Vex's eyes widened in panic. Captain, we're detecting multiple warp signatures. It's the Zarkonian Defense Fleet. Zelthor's heart sank. In the confusion, he had forgotten about the distress signal they had sent upon discovering the human ship. Now, it seemed, reinforcements had arrived, and they were about to stumble into a potentially disastrous first contact scenario. Araria's avatar frowned, its form flickering slightly as it processed this new information. It seems, Captain Zelthor, that our conversation is about to be interrupted. I hope, for the sake of all involved, that your reinforcements are as open to diplomacy as you have been. As the first Zarkonian battleships began to appear on the Nebula Seeker sensors, Zelthor realized that the next few moments would determine the course of galactic history. The human's legacy, embodied in this ancient and powerful AI, was about to meet the full might of the Zarkonian Confederation. And somehow, Zelthor knew, it would be up to him to prevent this first contact from turning into a catastrophe. The void of space erupted with activity as the Zarkonian Defense Fleet dropped out of warp. A dozen sleek, predatory ships surrounded the Nebula Seeker and the looming form of the Defiant. Beams of light danced between the ships as they scanned one another, tension building with each passing moment. On the bridge of the Nebula Seeker, Captain Zelthor's antennae quivered with stress. He turned to Araria's avatar, his voice urgent. Please, you must power down your systems. My people will see your ship as a threat. Araria's holographic eyes narrowed. I think not, Captain. Your reinforcements have made the situation precarious. I cannot risk the safety of this vessel or the legacy it carries. Before Zelthor could respond, a new voice boomed over the comms. Nebula Seeker, this is Admiral Krav of the Zarkonian Defense Fleet. Report your status immediately. Zelthor opened his mouth to reply, but Aria was faster. The AI's voice, now emanating from the Nebula Seeker's communication systems, addressed the fleet. Greetings, Admiral Krav. I am Aria, the artificial intelligence of the Earth Federation warship Defiant. I must insist that you withdraw your forces immediately. A stunned silence followed, broken by Admiral Krav's incredulous response. What madness is this? Zelthor, explain yourself. But before the captain could speak, alarms blared across every ship in the vicinity. The Defiant, dormant for so long, was coming fully to life. Panels shifted, revealing weapon systems far more advanced than anything the initial scans had detected. The soft blue glow enveloped the massive warship as its shields powered up. I will not ask again. Aria's voice resonated with authority. Withdraw your forces, or I will be forced to take defensive action. Admiral Krav, not one to back down from a challenge, barked orders to his fleet. All ships, battle formations. Prepare tow. His words were cut short as the Defiant suddenly accelerated, its movement impossibly graceful for a ship of its size. It slipped past the Zarkonian vessels as if they were standing still, leaving a trail of quantum distortions in its wake. Impossible. Lieutenant Vex gasped on the Nebula Seeker's bridge. It's moving faster than our sensors can track. Inside the Defiant, Aria processed the situation at lightning speed. The AI had hoped for a peaceful first contact, but the arrival of the defense fleet had forced its hand. Now, its primary directive kicked in. Protect the ship and the knowledge it carried at all costs. As the Defiant maneuvered through space, Aria began to unlock more of its advanced systems. Dormant circuits hummed to life, and long unused algorithms started running. The ship's full potential was awakening, and with it, memories of battles fought long ago began to surface in Aria's databanks. Back in the Zarkonian fleet, chaos reigned. After it, Admiral Krav roared, "Don't let it escape." The sleek Zarkonian ships gave chase, their engines straining to keep up with the ancient human vessel. But the Defiant always seemed to be one step ahead, effortlessly dodging weapons fire and slipping through gaps in space the Zarkonians hadn't even known existed. On the Nebula Seeker, Now trailing behind the main fleet, Captain Selthor watched the pursuit with a mixture of awe and dread. "It's toying with them," he murmured. "All this time, we thought we were the apex of technological advancement, and yet—" Commander Zix finished his thought. "And yet this relic from a long-dead species is running circles around our most advanced ships." As if to punctuate their words, the Defiant suddenly halted. For a brief moment, it hung motionless in space as the Zarkonian fleet closed in. Then, with a flash of light that temporarily blinded every sensor in the vicinity, it vanished. Where did it go? Admiral Crabbe's voice crackled over the comms, a note of panic creeping in. "Find it. Now." But the Defiant was gone, leaving behind a fleet of confused and frightened Zarkonians. As the ships scrambled to regroup and search for the vanished human vessel, a chilling realization began to dawn on them all. They weren't the hunters in this chase. They were the prey. And somewhere out there, an ancient warship with unimaginable power was watching, waiting, and planning its next move. The true nature of humanity's legacy was beginning to reveal itself, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Defiant drifted silently in the shadow of a gas giant, its advanced cloaking technology rendering it invisible to the searching Zarkonian fleet. Inside the ancient warship, HFY was busy. Systems that had lain dormant for millennia were coming online one by one. The AI's consciousness expanded, filling every circuit and sensor of the massive vessel. As it did so, fragments of memory began to surface, echoes of the human civilization that had created it. HFY's holographic avatar materialized in the ship's command center. It looked around, its expression a mixture of nostalgia and determination. "Time to see what you can really do, old friend," it murmured. Meanwhile, aboard the Zarkonian flagship, Admiral Crabbe paced restlessly. "How could we lose an entire warship?" he growled. "It's the size of a small moon, for star's sake." Captain Selthor, who had been summoned to the flagship, spoke up. "Sir, I don't think we fully understand what we're dealing with. This ship, this Defiant, it's beyond anything we've ever encountered." Crabbe turned to Selthor, his eyes narrowing. "Explain." As Selthor recounted his interaction with HFY, the Defiant was undergoing a transformation. Deep within the ship, nanobots swarmed through its structure, repairing damage and optimizing systems. The hull shifted and reconfigured, adapting to new tactical requirements. Weapon systems that defied Zarkonian understanding charged up, ready to unleash devastation if needed. HFY monitored these changes, its artificial mind racing. It knew that conflict might be inevitable, but its primary directive, to protect and preserve human knowledge, made it hesitant to engage in full-scale war. Back on the Zarkonian flagship, Admiral Crabbe listened to Selthor's report with growing concern. "An AI with access to technology thousands of years ahead of ours," he mused. "This changes everything." Suddenly, alarms blared across the Zarkonian fleet. "Sir," a young officer called out, "we're detecting a massive energy spike." In the vacuum of space, the Defiant decloaked. But it was not the same ship they had chased earlier. Its hull gleamed with a new otherworldly metal. Sleek protrusions that could only be advanced weapon systems dotted its surface. On the Zarkonian flagship's main view screen, HFY's avatar appeared. "Greetings, Admiral Crabbe. I believe it's time we had a proper discussion." Crabbe, to his credit, maintained his composure. "You've led us on quite a chase," he said. "Why reveal yourself now?" HFY's expression remained neutral. "To demonstrate that conflict between us is futile. Your weapons cannot harm me, and I have no desire to harm you. Shall we try diplomacy instead?" As if to emphasize its point, the Defiant's weapons powered down. However, a shimmering energy field remained visible around the ship, a shield far beyond Zarkonian capability. In that moment, a memory surfaced in HFY's databanks. It saw flashes of human diplomats, scientists, and soldiers working together. The humans had faced challenges similar to this, first contact situations that teetered on the brink of conflict. Araya made a decision. "Admiral, Captain Selthor," it said, "I invite you both aboard the Defiant. There is much we need to discuss about humanity's legacy and the future of galactic civilization." Krav and Selthor exchanged glances. This was unprecedented, potentially dangerous, but also an opportunity they couldn't ignore. "We accept," Krav said finally. As preparations were made for the Zarkonian leaders to board the Defiant, Araya reflected on the situation. The humans had programmed it to be a guardian, a protector of their legacy. But perhaps it mused that role could evolve. Perhaps it could be a bridge between the past and the future, between humanity's lost civilization and the new galactic order. The Defiant's docking bay opened, ready to receive its guests. As Krav and Selthor's shuttle approached, Araya prepared itself. This meeting would shape the future of the galaxy. And deep within its core, in datasets untouched for millennia, the collective knowledge of humanity stirred, ready to be shared with a universe that had forgotten it ever existed. The true potential of the Defiant, and of humanity's legacy, was about to be revealed. Admiral Krav and Captain Selthor stood in awe as they entered the Defiant's main command center. The room was alive with holographic displays, showing star systems and data streams they could barely comprehend. Araya's avatar materialized before them. "Welcome aboard the Defiant," it said. "I trust your journey was comfortable." Krav, ever the military man, got straight to the point. "Enough pleasantries. We demand to know your intentions. Your ship has displayed capabilities that threaten the balance of power in our galaxy." Araya's expression remained calm. "I understand your concern, Admiral, but I assure you our intentions are peaceful. The Defiant's purpose is to preserve and protect, not to conquer." Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. Araya's avatar flickered, its expression changing to one of concern. "It seems," it said, "that not everyone shares our desire for peaceful dialogue." On the holographic displays, they saw a new fleet of ships dropping out of warp. These weren't Zarkonian vessels. They were sleek, predatory craft of unknown origin. The Vexkar, Krav breathed, his antennae quivering with fear. "An aggressive species from the outer rim. We've been at war with them for decades." Araya processed this information rapidly. "It appears they've been tracking your fleet, Admiral, and now they see an opportunity to strike." Outside, the situation was deteriorating quickly. The Vexkar ships, numbering in the hundreds, began to surround both the Defiant and the Zarkonian fleet. A harsh, guttural voice crackled over the comms. "Zarkonian weaklings, your time has come. Surrender now, and we may spare your lives." Krav turned to Araya, desperation in his eyes. "Our fleet is outnumbered and outgunned. We need your help." Araya's avatar smiled, a glint of something almost human in its eyes. "I thought you'd never ask." With that, the Defiant sprang into action. Its hull shimmered, panels sliding open to reveal weapon systems beyond anything the Zarkonians or Vexkar had ever seen. "Attention Vexkar fleet," Araya's voice boomed across all frequencies. "This is your only warning. Stand down or face the consequences." The Vexkar commander laughed. "One ship against our armada. Your bravery is admirable, but foolish." Araya's response was not in words, but in action. The Defiant's weapons came to life, firing beams of energy that seemed to bend and twist space itself. Vexkar ships began to disappear, not exploding, but simply ceasing to exist as the fabric of reality warped around them. "By the cosmic winds," Selthor gasped. "What kind of weapons are these?" Araya's avatar turned to them. "Quantum disruptors, phase shift torpedoes, gravity lenses, just a few of the technologies humanity had mastered before their fall." The battle, if it could be called that, was over in minutes. The remaining Vexkar ships, faced with a power they couldn't comprehend, turned and fled. As the dust settled, the Zarkonian fleet emerged unscathed, protected by the Defiant's advanced shields. Admiral Krav stared at Aria's avatar, his worldview shattered. "You could have defeated us just as easily," he said, realization dawning. "Why didn't you?" Aria's expression softened. "Because that's not our purpose." Humanity, for all its flaws, believed in the potential for peace and cooperation between species. They created me not just to protect their legacy, but to share it when the time was right. Zelthor stepped forward. "And is the time right now?" Aria nodded. "I believe it is. The galaxy faces threats that no single species can face alone. Humanity's knowledge and technology, combined with the wisdom and diversity of species like yours, could usher in a new era of peace and prosperity." Admiral Krav straightened, coming to a decision. "Then on behalf of the Zarkonian Confederation, I formally request an alliance with humanity's legacy." Aria's avatar smiled. "Alliance accepted, Admiral. Now shall we discuss the future?" As they began their talks, the Defiant's engines hummed softly. The ship that had been a mystery, then a threat, and now a savior, stood ready to change the course of galactic history. The tables had turned, not just in the recent battle, but in the balance of power across the stars. And it all began because a group of aliens laughed at a relic they didn't understand. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Confederation buzzed with excitement. Representatives from 100 different species filled the room, their varied forms a testament to the diversity of life in the universe. At the center of attention stood an unusual trio: Admiral Krav and Captain Zelthor of the Zarkonians, and beside them, the holographic avatar of Aria, the Supreme Chancellor of the Confederation, a wise old being with shimmering scales, called for silence. "Esteemed colleagues," they began, "we are gathered here today to witness a historic moment. The legacy of a long-lost species, known as humans, has returned to our galaxy." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Many had heard rumors of the Defiant's incredible capabilities and of the ancient human eye that controlled it. Now they would hear the truth directly from the source. Aria stepped forward, its holographic form glowing softly. "Greetings, representatives of the galaxy. I am Aria, the advanced, responsive intelligence algorithm created by humanity. I come before you not as a conqueror, but as a bridge between past and future." The AI's words echoed through the hall, translated instantly into 100 different languages. Humanity, in its time, reached great heights of technological and cultural achievement, but they also faced great challenges, both from within and without. Their civilization fell, but they ensured their knowledge would survive. Images began to appear around Aria, holographic displays showing glimpses of human history, great cities that touched the sky, ships that sailed between stars, and feats of engineering that defied imagination. The Defiant, Aria continued, is more than just a warship. It is a repository of human knowledge, a seed ship of ideas and innovations that could benefit all species. Admiral Krav stepped forward. "I can attest to the power of human technology. The Defiant single-handedly repelled an invasion force that threatened to overwhelm my people. But more importantly, it did so with the goal of protecting life, not destroying it." Captain Zelthor nodded in agreement. "What we've seen is just a fraction of what humanity achieved. Imagine what we could accomplish if we combined their knowledge with our own." The Supreme Chancellor raised a hand, calling for quiet as excited chatter broke out. "This is indeed a monumental revelation, but it raises many questions. Aria, what are your intentions? What role do you see for yourself and this human legacy in our galactic community?" Aria's avatar smiled, a surprisingly human gesture. "My primary directive is to protect and share the knowledge entrusted to me. I propose an exchange, a sharing of ideas and technologies. But more than that, I offer a warning and a hope." The hall fell silent, all eyes on the AI. Humanity fell because they were not united when a great threat emerged from the depths of space. This threat may still exist, dormant but not defeated. By working together, by combining the best of human innovation with the diversity and wisdom of your civilizations, we can be prepared. For hours, the discussion continued. Questions were asked, concerns raised, and slowly, a new understanding began to emerge. The galaxy was changing, old paradigms shifting in the face of this rediscovered legacy. As the session drew to a close, the Supreme Chancellor stood once more. We have much to contemplate, much to discuss in the days and years to come. But for now, let us welcome HFY and the legacy of humanity into our galactic family. The hall erupted in applause, a cacophony of sounds from 100 different species. As HFY looked out over the assembly, it felt a sense of fulfillment. This was what its creators had hoped for, a future where their achievements could benefit all of galactic civilization. Outside the hall, the Defiant hung in orbit, a silent sentinel. Once laughed at as a relic, it now stood as a symbol of a new era. An era where the past and the future would work hand in hand, where ancient wisdom and new ideas would combine to face whatever challenges the universe might bring. As the first rays of the system's sun peeked over the planet's horizon, they illuminated not just the Defiant, but a galaxy filled with newfound hope and endless possibilities. The laughter had faded, replaced by respect, wonder, and the promise of a brighter tomorrow.